Hello, welcome to Government. This is Unit 2, Part 3B, continuing our look at the Constitution. All right. So let's look at the Articles of the Constitution. All right. So we already know we talked about the preamble. That is not considered an article, but that is the opening. How many articles are there? Give you a second. Take a guess. All right. There is the preamble, like I mentioned, and then 7 articles. It is actually shorter than the Articles of Confederation. Okay. Article 1 is the biggest, right? And it establishes our bicameral legislature. It establishes Congress. Right? It then also lists the qualifications to hold office, how long their terms are, and the methods of them being selected, how they get elected. Article 1, Section 2 establishes the census. In other words, it says every 10 years Congress has to take account of the number of people in the country. Article 1, Section 8 established the enumerated powers. Right? It has a list of what Congress can do. Right? Article 1, Section 8 ends with the necessary and proper clause, known as the elastic clause, and that's the basis for Congress's implied powers. You take the written powers, the enumerated powers. If it's necessary and proper, then you get some implied powers. One of the first ones is the National Bank. Congress has the right to collect taxes and to print money, so it could be considered necessary and proper to establish a bank. Jefferson didn't see it that way. Neither did Jackson. All right, Article 2. Right, that establishes the executive branch, or the presidency. It sets the president's term of office, which was 4 years, with the ability to run more than once. It establishes the Electoral College, which we talked about in a previous video. It also includes a mechanism for replacing the president in case of death, disability, or removal from office, in which, of course, we know the vice president takes over. Article 2, Section 3 established presidential powers, so there's a list of powers of the president. It does require him to give a State of the Union report to Congress. It does not have to be a speech. Every year in January, February, we see a speech on television from the president. That's how they have been given since President Wilson, somewhere around 1914. Between, let's see, which president was it? Madison and Wilson. All the presidents just sent a written report to Congress. Starting with Wilson and continuing through today, it's a big speech. It sets the qualifications for president, like age, citizenship, things like that. Article 3 establishes the Supreme Court. After that, though, it doesn't really mention how the courts are to be established. Instead, it allows Congress to create inferior courts as it sees fit. That allows Congress to change the courts for a changing country, okay? Because they passed and created so many in 1789 when the government went into effect, but we have a lot more than that today. Article 4 begins with the full faith and credit clause. That's where one state has to acknowledge court cases and paperwork from another court decisions from another state. It outlines the admission of new states, how they would be adopted. Article 5 gives the method for amending the Constitution. Article 6 has the supremacy clause. Federal laws are supreme, so the federal government, the federal laws, are more important than state laws. And then Article 7 is the process for ratification. It said how to send it to the states to have them vote on it to decide if we were going to use this new form of government.